This is our counter where obviously most of the guests here, if you've had any experience, are coming in and ordering their pastries or sandwiches, whatnot. You can tell we've got lots of space outside the building for seating down by the water, on our 2 patios on either side of the building, but the space in the building is actually quite small for our work. So, you know, in the middle of summer when we've sometimes got lines down the block, we're producing all the food out of this little kitchen here, which can comfortably fit 2, but you know, when we're really busy, sometimes squeezes 3 or 4 people to be able to handle the volume. So yeah, very impressed with everybody being able to work side by side in the kitchen and in a really tight space. And then as we move back through the building, we'll get to the pastry section. We've got a couple pieces of pastry equipment, all the ovens that we bake our pastries in. This is a proofer retarder for warming up the pastries, getting the yeast going in the morning, and then also being able to keep some things cool overnight. We've got a sheeter going, which Jeremy is working on right now. And that's where all of our laminated things come off. We've got 2 big benches for the whole pastry team to work on, and then a big old deck oven in the back where we'll do our multi-seed bread, our chocoupon, and we're starting to pick up a couple more things out of that oven as well. But yeah, you can tell it's pretty small space. We keep everything like nice and tight and organized. And then I'll keep you walking towards the back as well. Right beside you, Aaron. We've got a little dish area and then some more prep going on in the back. So this is nice to have an area that's slightly removed from the chaos of pastry prep and the line working, just to be able to work on some things that will help supplement the line, help supplement the pastry team as well. But yeah, that's it. That's all the space we have inside. Like I said, it's a lot of seating outside, but not a ton of room to work with inside. But I think we do a good job with what we have.
We're working on the dough for our cardamom knots. So we mix it, press it down, chill it, and then fill it, roll it up. First stage.
Yeah, we're gonna try it.
And so what we're looking for here is just like that it has a nice elasticity and that you can pull it and create a window.
I'm doing the barrage right now, which is just getting our butter to size and getting it kind of more pliable.
Okay.
And then after this, I'll be walking into the dough and making all the layers and leave it in the afternoon.
Our earliest baker gets here at 4 a.m. That's when bake-off starts. We'll have a couple other bread people rolling in around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. And then the front of house team and the kitchen team really start coming in at 7, and they get prepped things for opening at 7:30, ready to go. We have a really, really talented team here that's like, it's definitely our strongest suit. I think our team here is like second to none.
Over here is they're getting prepped up for the tofu bomb that we serve at 10 as well. They make these just amazing baguettes.
Yeah. And so you guys bake them in the morning?
Yeah, they bake them fresh about 7 and then let them cool, and then they get it all. And then they hand it off to us.
That's awesome. You guys have like a streamlined process.
Yeah, we try.
Yasuaki Saito, owner Saint Bread. We took over a site that was owned by the Jensen family for 120-ish years, and we wanted to pay homage to their Danish heritage. So one of the phrases that we took from was Sant brød, which means pure bread or true bread in Danish. And so then I came up with the idea of Saint Bread because it's so close to that and it has that same feeling. And I grew up in a Catholic household. My mother raised us Catholic, and so there's a lot of touchstones for me that are in that way. And then also we wanted it to be something that we felt was sacred in the way that you feed your community and your family and the people that are near and dear to you, and that how that act can be something that's really special. So when we opened on the 20th of April back in 2021, we were really kind of trepidatious, but the people that came down to the campus, people at the STEM school research labs, the medical center, dental school, you can't do that stuff from home, and so they were here to support us, and they kind of got us through that first year and a half of not really having anything else going on. And then as it kind of kept going, I think we became that community locus for that population. And then now, you know, we're so grateful to the UW and the campus and the people that work and live here that they've kind of gotten us through those hard times, and now we can be that place for them to say, I'm going to come down and meet my friends for a study session, or I'm going to come down and have a meeting with one of my cohorts. Yeah, certainly. That we were again fortunate. We knew some local people that were going to be activating the site, and they were like a fourth generation Scandinavian person. There was a couple of people that had been on the rowing team at the UW. There's a person who has a local development company. So they were all people that wanted to preserve the heritage of the site. And like I said earlier in the conversation, that the Jensen family had been here for 120 years. So everybody involved in it did not want to do anything like tear any buildings down or any of that sort of thing. And so when we were approached by one of the members of the landlord group, they asked us to, what would we do here that wouldn't require that sort of, erasure. And so what we did is we took an old machine shop, which is where Saint Bread sits now, and we spent a lot of energy and time and capital trying to make that feel like it had always been. And we it used to be just a shed basically where they did all this machining, so anvils and grinders and all that kind of stuff, and we took the interior, it was basically an open space, and we poured a new foundation and created gave it all new plumbing, all new electrical, and preserved the interior of it. So when you're in there shooting earlier, you probably saw the original roof line is there, the original interior is there, and we just kind of like took a bakery and put it inside of that. And towards that end, it was like, this could be a really great opportunity to service this community, which I live, 10 minutes away, and there's nothing really down here other than our really great neighbors over at Agua Verde. But when we talked to some people in the neighborhood and at the dental school, they were saying like they would love to have another option, and they'd love to have something that was a daily use type thing. And so that's what we started when we started conceptualizing this. I had a concept that fit really well with it, and then we kind of started working towards that end of creating something that was a daily use type thing, and again has that opportunity to be a community oriented, was a place that for 120 years was not open to the public. It was a private location, and so this also was really intriguing in that way of like, how do you make a place that has been here for that long but was never used by the community outside of that finite and that specific use. And so now it becomes something where you don't have to have a boat here, even though you can have a boat here and come and moor it and spend your time here for that reason, but you can also now use it as a daily cafe or gathering place. Yeah, some of it comes, so there's a few things that kind of guide us in the kitchens, whether that be from the pastry or the savory side of things. We're trying to take some bit of heritage, so my Japanese and French, German, and the site ownership, the Jensen family having been shipwrights from Copenhagen, Denmark, trying to take all these things and draw from that as inspiration, but then also things that are nostalgic to us and the things that are exciting for us to eat and enjoy. And so things like, even though it might not be totally sequitur, it's burger, because I love eating burgers, and it's a very American thing, but we can add something like chili Kewpie mayo to it to make it feel, or dobutsu sauce to make it feel more our version of that thing. And then things like the meronpan, which I grew up eating. I never ate as good a quality as we produce, but these things that you can kind of reach to and say, this is something that's familiar to me, something that's nostalgic to me, and then that I think in turn will resonate with others because you're showing them something that's delicious to you. And usually what happens is like, oh wow, that's delicious, because it comes from this place of inspiration. And so it's a little bit of a mix of taking those fusion elements and then also taking something nostalgic. So like for instance, there's an okonomiyaki style tortilla on the menu, or frittata. And I grew up son of an immigrant from Osaka, and so my family eats okonomiyaki regularly. My aunt would make it for us when we would visit, and it was always one of those like really delicious and really familiar flavors to me. And so when we're thinking about ways we could do a version of that here, instead of it making it to order and just having a giant griddle, we decided to use my love of Spanish food, of tortilla española, or that idea of a frittata, and then so we basically bake those flavors and those ingredients into a frittata, and that's how that came about. So. I think anything that is nostalgic to one could be nostalgic to others, and I think there's a lot more commonality in our lives, especially in the world of cooking, than we realize. And so I think that everybody's had a version of like an egg bake, we'll call it, right? So that's not unfamiliar to people, but there might be something more familiarity with somebody who is maybe an exchange student from Japan or China who's eaten something like that with those types of flavors, with mirin and soy sauce, that sort of thing, coming here and being like, wow, that's a familiar flavor to me, in addition to it being something that somebody else might be familiar with in a totally different capacity. And so I think and also growing up, hafu, as we call it in Japanese, or hapa in Hawaiian language, you exist in two worlds always, right? You don't necessarily have to feel divided in that. You can say, I'm of these two worlds. And so how do you kind of create something that allows people to see that and feel that? And I think the people that are away from home, or that maybe have had something that they've enjoyed in the past that's not necessarily available to them as in the same way, they can find excitement in that sort of thing. So. Well, the best part of that is always going to be the staff recognition, right? So I do a lot of hard work, but the team every day shows up at 4 o'clock to start baking, and we're finish the day at 7 or 8 o'clock with the prep and everything. And so it's a full, day of hard work and effort by a group of talented, skilled professionals. And so that recognition is really awesome for them, as they are professionals in this industry and they get a little bit of pride in their work. But then also, I was talking about this earlier, it's a little shocking, it's a little humbling, and it's a little bit cool to have a national publication, a national organization like the James Beard Awards, see us in this little tiny corner of the campus, which is not, again, not a very visible thing, right? You kind of have to come down here to experience it. And so having that recognition is all of those things. It's like shocking and humbling and really cool, and it's cool to share that with the staff because they're the ones doing the work every day and putting out really, I mean, you probably saw the product we put out is really high quality, really a ton of attention to detail. There's a lot of touches. It's not just like I'm gonna buy something in and put it on a bun and send it out. It's like we make our own, smoke our own ham and make our own caramelized onions and all these things that go into sandwiches and so forth. So it's really a great recognition for the team, and then just kind of like, wow, I didn't expect that to happen. You know, and you never get told, right? Those things just happen. They're not like, hey, we're going to give you this award, or we're going to give you this nomination, or we're going to put you in this article, because that's not how they work. And so I found out waking up one morning, and somebody from the East Coast who's a friend of mine is like, hey man, great, congratulations on the NYT and top 22. And I'm like, what? And so I pull up that article, and I see that we're listed on that thing. And the same thing happened with the James Beard Award, where you don't get any information until the day it gets released. And then we had people on the East Coast texting or emailing us and saying, hey, you guys got it nominated for a Beard Award. I'm like, what? And so we, then later in the day, you get the email saying, hey, you were nominated, these are the next steps, etc. So yeah, it's really interesting and cool. Yeah. Yeah, you know, I mean, you know, if I guess for lack of a better description, is like we are stoners, right? Like I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, and part of my rebellion against I guess my family and the status quo of what was happening there was I like to smoke weed and play chess and smoke BDs and do the things that, you know, kind of counterculture I guess asks of you as somebody who's trying to find themselves. And so it's an homage to that, because 420 is a special day in that world. But also, we just like to be irreverent and fun, and I think that if you think of it in that way, it's not necessarily about getting stoned or being a stoner. It's more about, like, how do you think about the world, and how do you decide to make your life your own, and all those types of ways that, in the counterculture, that's what I learned, right? Like, how do you become yourself? How do you become independent? How do you keep your thought process out of the mainstream and out of the things that just kind of, over the course of time, maybe deaden you to the world? And I'd much rather be engaged in that way, and, you know, that's kind of like a homage to that stoner culture, but also the way that you think. So
I love it.
yeah, it has a lot to do with intention. It has a lot to do with the work that we put in, and it also has a lot to do with the way that the community supports you, right? Like, I think even though we may set out to be community members and may set out to be active and engaged in the community, it really is a two-way path there. And so if the community doesn't like what we do, or doesn't see what we do, or if we're not responsive to the community in that way, then it won't come off with the same resonance. And I think what we found here is we're true to ourselves. We engage with the community in the way that we think is right. The things that are, I guess, resonating with the community are things that are core to us as well. And so it becomes this, like, to use your words earlier, like this kind of self-perpetuating thing. Like, the culture starts to become more than what it is. And, you know, when we first started this, there was 5 employees here, right? It was like me, our founding pastry chef Randy, our founding baker Michael, and a couple other people. And, like, we did all of the work ourselves for the first 6 months, and then we started, like, being, okay, well, I can't keep working every day from, you know, 4 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. I've got to figure out a different way to do this. And so we started, like, looking at what could we do to expand the offerings and so forth. We hired a couple people in the kitchen. We did a bunch of other things. And so, you know, it's always also about organic growth, because I think that even though I may have been, like, this idea of the Jensen Marina project, the Hinoki and Heave Ho and Saint Bread are all part of, like, the vision I have for the place, it couldn't happen all at once, and it can't happen without it kind of getting tested. And so what I think we found is over the course of the past 5 years for the project, because we started it 5 years ago, we found ways to kind of like layer in these things that were resonating with the community and the campus population, and became something more than what it was at the beginning, and hopefully just keeps growing, and we keep finding ways to engage and yeah, keep running a sustainable business, because that's really what's going to get us to the next 5 years, right? So. UW community, thank you so much. It's been awesome being down here with you, and we look forward to another 4 years. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.